The last time we met in person was a year ago tomorrow. Were you there? Do you remember that day? We lit the chalice with a rainbow battery-operated candle. And then we had a fire drill. It's funny that the last thing we did together was to practice being safe by leaving the building. When we stopped having services in person, I did not think we'd be apart for a whole year, but that's what happened.
We're going to have a ritual together to hold some of the sadness of this year. It hasn't been all sad, of course. Jay and Riley's chalice lighting reminds us of some of the good things of the year, the comforts, the connections, the healing of the ecosystem. And none of those good things takes away the sad things, the things we couldn't do, the people we miss, the people who have died.
As the song says, to everything there is a season. Today we're going to gather stones together. For everything that makes us sad, we'll put our stones together. Make your own pile of stones or whatever small objects you have to hold the sadness of the year.
For all the things we couldn't do, put down a stone. Think about the things that you missed this year and put down a stone for each one. For in-person services and religious education. For in-person school. For parties and graduations. For travel and weddings. For birthdays. For other milestones postponed or celebrated in different ways.
For all the people we miss, put down a stone. Think about the people you miss. Maybe you haven't seen them in person at all. Or maybe you see them less than you did before. Maybe you see each other, but can't be as close as you were before. Put down a stone for each person. And if you like, say their name out loud where you are.
For the people who have died, put down a stone. Put down a stone for each person you know who has died this year and say their name. And then put down a stone for all the people who have died of COVID-19.
And if anything else is making you sad today, put down a stone for that too. It's okay to be sad. It's okay. It's okay if putting down the sad things made you less sad than you were. Even though we built our own piles, we can put them together too. Take a picture of your pile of stones before you clean it up and email me the picture, and we'll share all of the pictures back with everyone. We'll hold all of our sadness together. One year ago, everything changed. There was the threat of a new respiratory disease that had shut down Wuhan, China. It had seemed remote until suddenly it didn't. In a week, we went from maybe we shouldn't hold hands anymore to moving everything online. The people who study disasters call this the warning of threat phase. The moment of impact in a disaster like this, a pandemic rippling around the globe, is hard to define. Probably each of us has a different moment when we knew that this would affect our lives and become more than news out there somewhere. For me, it was the synagogue in New Rochelle, which in the early days accounted for more than half of New York's known coronavirus cases. Seeing a faith community as an epicenter of harm woke me up to how serious this could be. When just the Sunday before, I stood side by side with you and found it hard to cut out hugs entirely. We didn't know what it meant, but we shut down in-person operations to keep each other as safe as possible. It was a confusing time. It seemed as though the rules kept changing. Supplies were short, or the existing supply chains didn't make sense for the new situation. Consumer toilet paper disappeared immediately, while commercial toilet paper sat in warehouses. But more than toilet paper and groceries, since we were eating food at our homes instead of restaurants, we were anxious for our own safety and the safety of others. The heroic phase was that rush of adrenaline following the disorientation. And then the honeymoon is what they call it, an actual formal response of sorts. Medical professionals traveled from places not yet hit to where the need was greatest. States locked down formally, at least some of them, or people were proud to participate in the effort to stop the virus. Civilians applauded shift changes at hospitals. People began putting up signs to thank first responders. When we learned that masks would help, people organized to sew and distribute masks. There were mutual aid funds, birthday parades. People learned new hobbies, began baking bread. This actually kind of felt good. It was easy to believe that our sacrifices made an impact, that we were saving lives by staying home as much as we could. The disillusionment phase set in with the inadequacy of the government response, with frustration with others' responses, lost jobs, the stimulus checks that couldn't make up for lost jobs, seeing the neighbor's driveway full of cars of visiting friends, frustrations with online school, watching the effects of isolation on loved ones, people we know getting COVID-19, some of them who had done everything they could to avoid getting sick. We felt stressed and tired. A lot of us still feel stressed and tired. All of these patterns can cycle back with each new impact, each loss. Losing a loved one, or getting sick ourselves, or any other personal tragedy can throw us as individuals back to that impact phase. And then it's hard to live in a different phase of the disaster from the people around us. You're not wrong if you're going through a different phase from the people around you. Be gentle with yourself and those around you. I tell you these things so that you can treat yourself and others with compassion, not to tell you how you should feel. The recovery phase of a disaster comes when we build our new normal. Going back to a pre-COVID life is not an option, but we can build new. Recovery will happen as we make meaning of this tragedy, as we integrate what we've learned, as we come back to what's most important. So we tell the stories of what we lost and who we've lost and what we've learned and what we hope. We know that we have lost 524,000 people in this country, which is almost the population of Fresno, California. Gone. We know that people of color and poor people have suffered disproportionately. We know that anti-Asian hate crimes have increased exponentially. We know now that wearing masks is essential to stopping transmission. We know that Hampshire and Hampden counties remain in critical outbreak status, and we've been there since November. It's not over. We know now that we have 3 highly effective vaccines that stop us from getting sick with the virus. We don't know whether the vaccines will prevent us from transmitting the virus to each other, and we don't know how long the immunity from the vaccines will last. What we need to do now is to take excellent care of each other, still, vaccinated or not. Please do get vaccinated when you are able to do so, but please also keep up your best habits, not taking unnecessary risks. This is how we take care of each other. Craig's Doors requested that our staff who come into the building get vaccinated along with their staff and volunteers, which means that I am vaccinated. I'm grateful. I will meet you for in-person pastoral care, but I'll still be masked, 6 feet away and outdoors. And I'll commit to getting tested regularly still. And when the science indicates that something can give, then I'll relax more and we'll explore what it means to find ways of being together in person. But we won't do it before it seems like a thing we can do safely. I will continue to take those precautions because I don't want us to go back to the way we were. I don't. I want us to go forward, still remembering the time when we took care of each other, when we knew that we were connected, that we depend on each other for survival. Each one of us is precious and irreplaceable. These things will still be true even as we come back. Let's not forget them as we long to get back to normal.